Hello everybody, today I'm excited to bring you another tutorial from camerastupid.com. My name is Mark. If you're into photography and you want to keep improving your photographs and learning new things, I'd love to have you join me over at camerastupid.com, also in the Facebook group, and I'll have the links to all those in the description of this video. But in this tutorial I just wanted to share a few things that I've learned, a few tips for improving your real estate photos or your architectural photos. You'll notice one of the challenges right off the bat is that the light temperature is different. So you have these interior lights, and that's going to provide a much warmer tone, and you can see that warm tone in here as compared to the window light. So you have natural light coming in through a window in this bedroom, and it's casting a much different temperature of light than what's coming from these artificial overhead lights. And so I would say right off the bat, the number one thing you could do to improve your real estate or architectural images would be to provide better light, to improve the light of the scene. And the best way to do that is with flash. So you say flash, a lot of beginner photographers get nervous and think they're gonna have to spend a lot of money, but really you can get started with something as simple as a speed light. And this is a speed light that I use and I recommend to people because it's so inexpensive relatively. It's $77 for the I'm not sure how to say that, Yongnuo YN 560s, and it's a really basic flash, but it's great for getting started. And even more advanced shoots this flash can do just as much as a name brand flash can do for a fraction of the price. So these run again about 77, 80 bucks, and you can get them on Amazon. This flash is great. You can pick one of these up, and then you'll need a way to trigger this flash. So we want to take the flash off the camera for these types of shoots. And to do that, to be able to trigger the flash and sync it with your camera so that it activates as you press the shutter button, you're going to need a way to wirelessly trigger it. And there's a variety of wireless triggers out there for flashes. Some are cheaper than others. The one that I've used and stuck with is the Pocket Wizard Plus X, and this is probably one of the most reliable wireless flash triggers available. It is a little more expensive, 89 bucks, and you're going to need one for your camera and one for the flash, so you're ending up spending almost $200 there for the Pocket Wizards. So again, if that's out of your price range, you can find cheaper wireless triggers. Just do some Google searching. But for me, these are incredibly reliable, and they've got good distance. They work even through walls or on different sides of a house. And so for me, that's worth the expense to get something that works and is going to be reliable. So these run on AA batteries, 2 AA batteries per Pocket Wizard. Again, you'll need 2 of them, and one of them is going to sit on the hot shoe of your camera, and then the other one plugs in with what they call a PC cable. It's just a little cable, kind of looks like an audio cable, into the flash unit. So the other end of the Pocket Wizard cord plugs into the flash unit, and then as you take a picture with both those Pocket Wizards on, the flash will activate. So the other thing you might want is a light stand to put this on, and you can get any cheap light stand or tripod and mount your flash unit onto it. And once I found the composition I like, I took a base shot, and this is that base shot. This shot actually has flash in it, and the flash is set up next to the camera, so it's outside the camera view, the view of the lens, but the flash is on the light stand, and it's aimed at this white ceiling, and it's on kind of a relatively low power, and it's bouncing off the ceiling and providing more light into this kitchen. And I'm going to show you this next shot. So I have all my shots in Photoshop, each as a layer. As I toggle on this next layer, you can see that this is the same exposure, and the only thing I've done is move the flash stand, and you can't see it because I've moved it into this corner over here behind this wall. And it's again on a stand, and it's pointed up at the ceiling, and it's bouncing light down into this space. And after removing the light from from this side of the kitchen, you can see how dark it is, and also how different the color temperature is. There's very orangey yellow color temperature of these artificial lights, and the flashlight is very white, and it matches more closely with the ambient exposure from the natural light outside. So here we have another secret to architectural photography, and that is the fact that I'm going to actually combine several shots to create a master shot that's better than any of the single frames could have been on their own. So you might have thought of doing this before with like HDR photography. This is kind of the same concept, multiple shots taken from the same tripod location, and we're combining the best light from each shot. And so the difference here is that we're using a flash to just pop in a little bit of light and light up the room a certain way. So the third shot I have here, this third layer, is a little bit different exposure settings on the camera, but I also moved this light stand out from the corner a little bit and aimed it at the ceiling again to try to bounce more light into this area. And so again, this was all just kind of experimentation. I wasn't sure exactly what was going to work, but I took several frames, moving the flash, trying different flash powers, and we're going to combine now these 3 frames to try to create an image that's better than you could do with just one single image. So I'm going to turn off the top image here and toggle this second layer, and you can see, so the second layer I have the flash over here, and I really like how the light is falling onto this wall from this flash location. If you look at the third layer, I can't really use this because the flash is in the way, and I don't want the flash in the scene. So, and it's kind of more of a flat light. I like the light from this second layer for this area, for this back wall. Now I love the light from this exposure for the kitchen. That's a much better exposure for the kitchen with the flash back here bouncing off the ceiling. So what I want to do is keep this part of the image and then replace this part of the image with the layer above it. And to do that, I'm going to use what's called a layer mask. And come down here and choose the mask tool. And you can see that links this white frame to this layer. And this is the mask. And so what we're going to do is now erase part of this mask, and that's going to affect this image just like the eraser tool would. So in order to use a layer mask, what we do is paint with a paintbrush, either white or black. And if we paint black on this mask, the layer beneath it shows through. And that's just like the eraser tool is doing. It's revealing the layer underneath. And so there's a few advantages to this. Now that I've erased part of this layer and I decided, oops, I went too far and I want to bring some of it back, I just switched to white paint. So I can do that here. There's this little arrow that will switch. Or X on the keyboard is the shortcut to swap those two. I can get white paint. I can just paint back in that mask. And now I'm painting that image back in. And so it's a non-destructive way to work. I can keep this mask in here and make changes and always come back and be able to paint on that mask and restore that layer. So I'm just going to show you really quick, now that you understand masks, how I'm going to use that tool to paint in this part of the room. And I'm going to make a little bit bigger of a brush. You can change the softness of the brush. I want a pretty big brush with a really soft tip, and I can just kind of blend these images in now. In fact, I like the floor a little bit lighter over here, so we can just kind of brush that in. If I want to see just the mask and see just what I've done, I can hold the Option key on a Mac and click the mask button, and you can see where I've painted the black on the mask, and that's where the layer shows through from underneath, and then the white area is keeping this top layer. Let's look at this third image here. Okay, on this one, I really like how this wall over here is lit up, and this area and the ceiling is all lit up better in this third image where the light stand is moved out. And you can see that it illuminates this bottom area here with the chair and table. So I'm going to try to keep using the same technique again, a layer mask. I'm going to try to keep the best parts of this image and not keep the other parts that I don't want. So again, I'll just select this layer and click the layer mask tool and grab my brush tool, and the parts that I didn't want to keep were right here. Paint out that light stand. You can see how that just disappears as you paint it out. Now you can see there's some problems here. I don't like necessarily the reflection on the floor, so I'm just going to swap back to my white paint and paint out the parts that I don't like from that layer. Now I do like how that was illuminating this desk and table, so we'll try just to kind of paint out that area and lighten it, and you can see that that is bringing back our light stand. So we'll have to come in here with a little bit smaller of a brush to remove that. So if you need to, you can zoom way in here and get extremely detailed. Make your brush smaller. Paint around objects. It doesn't have to be too perfect. You just kind of blend in the areas of the image that you want to keep. Something like that. I like how the light kind of illuminates the back of that chair. Okay, you can see that this is also covering up this half of the image where we wanted to use that original frame. So I'm going to paint over this half as well. Adjust the mask so that it blends in nicely. And there you go. There's a pretty quick and rough mask job, but you can see already the image is that much better than just a regular single frame. I'm pretty happy with now how those three images are combined. So I'm going to duplicate and flatten these three layers. And to do that, I'm going to go Command, Option, Shift, and E. One of the things I'm noticing is that the kitchen is still a little bit too warm in color for my taste, and so I'm going to add an adjustment layer to this layer. And to do that, I'm going to use the Camera Raw filter. So Filter, Camera Raw, and then I can apply this filter to that composited image. So I'm just going to cool it down just a touch. And maybe make a few other small adjustments. We can try bumping the exposures a touch, maybe a little bit more contrast, bring the shadows up just a touch, and then maybe a little bit of clarity. And then I'm going to hit OK. Okay, this is still just a little too yellow for my taste, so I'm going to use an adjustment layer down here and use the Hue and Saturation adjustment layer on that. And then I'm going to choose under Master, I'm going to go to Yellows, and I'm just going to desaturate. So here's the saturation slider, and I can just desaturate the yellows in the scene, just a touch. You can drag this all the way over and it looks a little bit odd, but we still want a little bit of yellow. But I'm just going to pull a little bit of it out. That feels better to my eye. And then to finish this off, I just want to make sure that my lines are straight. And to do that, I'm going to use some guides. And in Photoshop, you can pull out some guides from the rulers. I have the rulers on right now. You can turn them off or on with the Command R shortcut. It's probably Control R on a PC. Shooting with almost any lens is going to introduce some distortion to the image, and especially with wider angle lenses you'll see some distortion where lines in your scene that you know are supposed to be straight just look a little bit curved. And so we're going to check that now. I'm going to drag out a guide, and I'm going to drag it here to kind of see how this door frame looks, and you can see that the top of the door frame here is not really lining up at the bottom. It's not perfectly straight. And with these other guides you can also see this wall is a little bit off, and then the fridge is a little bit off as well. And so with those guides drawn, I can now try to correct for that. And the easiest way I think to correct for that is with the skew distortion tool. So I'm going to go to Edit and Transform and Skew, and then I'm going to hold the Shift key, and this will keep these points moving in a straight line. So hold the Shift key, and I'm going to drag out on this point, and you can see as I drag in or out how it's skewing the image, and I'm just looking here to try to line up that door frame with that guide that I know is straight up and down. As I do that, this is getting a little bit better, and I can do the same in this corner and just try to straighten those lines so that they look a little bit more settled up and down. And that's looking pretty good. I can turn the guides off with the Command colon key and hit return, and that will adjust my image permanently. Now I think I'll do just a little bit of a crop down to about like that. Just going to crop out that light, and that's looking pretty good. To finish this off, I might just try a few more adjustments in the Nik Collection. So Google has this really cool software package for Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop called the Nik Collection. I've got it installed right here. It's now free. It used to cost, I think, $100, $200, and it's now free, so you can download that. Just go to Google and search for Nik Collection, and you can download that and install it for your programs. But inside Nik Collection, I like the Color Effects Pro for this type of work, so we'll open that. And when that opens, you can see there's just a bunch of different presets that you can use and explore with and adjust to improve your image. One of them that I really like is the Detail Extractor, and it just pops in just a little bit more detail, and you can control how strong that is with these control points. So I'm going to scale it down just a little bit, but I like how that looks. And then you can stack these filters. So I'm going to hit Add a Filter, and we'll try maybe some tonal contrast, and that's a little bit too much, but I do like what it's doing to that wood floor. So again, I'm going to just scale down the control point so it's not quite so strong. You could check these on and off to kind of see what they're doing, but I like how that's looking. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to hit OK, and it'll take a minute to process, but that's going to apply that to a new layer at the top, and there we go. So now we've worked non-destructively. This top layer has those Nik Collection presets applied to it. You can toggle that on or off, and you could even change the opacity here if you wanted to dial them down even more. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you've been able to learn something that would improve the photos that you're taking of real estate or architecture. Again, I'd really love to have you over at camerastupid.com. I'm publishing new content there pretty regularly. But there's also a very fun and friendly Facebook group that I've started. If you just go to Facebook and search for Camera Stupid Photo Sharing, it looks like there's about 3,000 members now, but just a very fun group. Everybody's always posting and are very encouraging, and it's a great place to share your work and get feedback on it. So I'd love to have you in that Facebook group. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed. Leave me a comment. We'll see you next time.